So how are we? All good?
All good, sir.
Super,
Okay,
sir.
that's nice, Dr. Shipra. Thank you, thank you. In fact, I mean, we require a lot of energy and a lot of interaction from your side. Only in that case can we actually build up. You know, that's basically how it is. So what we do is, as usual, we will have a sort of a brief recap. We'll have a brief recap where I would like to it would be very nice if you all are able to tell me, you know, if you want me to go slow or slightly more organized, slightly more streamlined. Absolutely, let us feel comfortable because we need to cover the content and we need to do justice. Justice is basically I need to engage with you, empower with you, share some knowledge, learn something from you. It's basically, you know, we are into an ecosystem where I'm also learning a lot of things from you. We will be doing a lot of activities and things like that gradually as and when we go across. So please do not worry. Certain things I may possibly, you know, you may interrupt, but then I may do it at the end of the slide because what happens, momentum of the slide there. Otherwise, even immediately, sometimes it is possible. And so do let me know if the pitch or the tone or the frequency or whatever, you know, thoda sa usko regulate kar sakte hai. So there is absolutely nothing to worry. And so let's have a brief recap. Let's connect with a few pointers before we go on to the screen sharing, you know. Let's know what training is all about. I think, you know, most of us are all, you know, it's a body or a fraternity of wonderful, young, enterprising, energetic, and empowered trainers and facilitators from different domains. In fact, most of us are educators, most of us are teachers, most of us are trainers, most of us are possibly working in some sector in L&D or related to L&D. So what is actually training? I mean, just something very nice and crisp.
So like you said last time, it is a systematic procedure where the learner from the current state, we make them to reach the desired state. That process is known as training.
Very good, Dr. Shipra, very good. It's something like a systematic body of knowledge or something which is specific. It relates to the objectives and it tells you what to do. So as a trainer, there will be an agenda, there will be a specific focus on what I'm going to teach or what I'm going to train you on. So that's basically, it could be related to maybe knowledge, maybe skills, maybe attitudes, maybe aptitude, maybe abilities. It could be anything. Wonderful. So now when we know what training is all about, how do we differentiate it in between this term facilitation? Is training and facilitation one and the same?
No, sir.
Okay. Yes, Jaspreet, what it could be?
What, sir?
Would you like to tell what the difference between training and facilitation?
So training is more about making people learn or teaching them, but facilitation is like helping that process more.
Okay, very nice, very nice. So can we come to a conclusion? Can we say that all trainers can be facilitators or all facilitators can be trainers?
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
I mean, half of you are divided, half of you are, which is possible. Farmida, would you like to add something?
So facilitation is definitely the art of delivering. It's
Okay.
it's a composition between how do you communicate, deliver, and make sure the message is clear out.
Very
And,
good, very good.
The training might not really, all the trainers might not be able to. That's the reason we have a differentiation of trainers, process, technical, and otherwise.
Okay, okay. So can we put it the other way around? Like all trainers need not be facilitators, but all facilitators could be good trainers?
Yes, sir.
Debatable,
To a
but
certain
yes.
extent, to a certain extent. Of course, we'll have it broad-based. We are not trying to create a controversy, but to some extent, most of the facilitators would have a training input because what happens is to be a facilitator, I need to know my space. I need to know my knowledge. I need to know my skills. I need to know my approach. I need to know my delivery. Till the time I don't do that, I cannot be able to moderate or create a debrief at the end of the session, which is very useful. Yes, Kavita, you raised your hand. Please come in.
Then I would like to add to this discussion
Please,
saying
please.
that training is more about teaching, delivering the training. And when I say facilitation, it's about enabling and ensuring that the learning has happened. It's not just about me delivering.
Very good, very good, very good. Training is more one-sided. I have an agenda. My company says itna sikhana, and Suhas is actually tuned up, whether whether the people like it or not, my agenda is very simple. Sikhana hai, sikhana hai, sikhana hai, teach, train, develop. And facilitation would be actually empowering, probing you, maybe provoking you, maybe making you do something, and then gradually, assimilating different things from different groups or different clusters or maybe different teams to come to a common goal. That's basically what the objectives of the facilitation would be. Absolutely wonderful. I think, yes, Ritika, would you like to add something?
Yes, sir. So for effectiveness of training, I think trainer should be a good facilitator to make his or her training more effective.
Okay. So then I think now we have an equally balanced this thing, trainers could be facilitators, facilitators could be trainers. I think, in fact, all of you all should have that art and ability of, switching over or changing of hats as and when required. Basically empowering, engaging, developing, taking a step forward, hand-holding, maybe coaching, maybe mentoring. You have different functions which could be put together. So I think with this, what we'll do is we will go ahead with the screen sharing so that we'll be able to relate to different concepts. That will make it slightly easier and go beyond. Now, I would like to tell you all certain things before I go on to the screen sharing. There is something which is known as the session outcomes or session objectives, or I've made it simpler today on request, basically session agenda. Now, when you talk about a session agenda would broadly cover topics which are parallel or which are similar to what is reproduced. One second. What is reproduced in this book, which all of you all have got, isn't it? Of course. Now, what will happen is most of us who are into the field as teachers, trainers, researchers, facilitators, coaches, academicians would like to make it simple, interesting. So it would actually supplement, complement, add, and be a great value add. So what we'll be doing is it will be a mix of certain topics and put it into context with the agenda, which is identical in both. So you'll be able to see these things in most of my presentations also. So if there is any confusion, you can definitely ask. And what if you've gone through the book, I think most of you have definitely gone through the book. Certain places there would be repetitions. Like for example, if there was a soft copy available with you, and if you put the word role play, I'm just giving a hypothetical situation, you will get almost 50 places where the word role play has been repeated in the complete resource material. Either it has come as a facilitation method, or it has come as a training method, or it has come as something like that. So certain times we would like to wrap it up and make it a composite or compact so that we do not repeat it again and again. And your response sheets and your question papers for the exams would be more broad-based, where I request you all, you to add value by adding your own, studies or research or observations or trainings or sessions which you have done or shared with others, something like that. That would make it more holistic to get better marks. Most of the subjects are like that. So rather than focus only on the theoretical stuff, it would be good enough to complement and supplement with real life stuff. Don't worry, I'll be giving you a projection of how we could do the papers much later. It will not be so early. It will be maybe towards the end of the 9th session or the 8th session or maybe the 10th session or something like that. Okay? So now with your kind permission, I will go on to the screen sharing. One second. There's some. You all can see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You can hear the music also? Okay. So I have deliberately put this wonderful gentleman as basically the role of a facilitator, to understand, to learn from each participant, to engage with them. So that's why I found this something beautiful that you are adding to the
Mr. Bean.
Yes, Mr. Bean. So now we go on to the icebreaker session, which is a very important element for all our facilitation sessions, all our training sessions, to develop the connect or to develop the rapport or to create a positive energy or share positive vibes in the room. Room is basically whether it is virtual or maybe hybrid or remote or actual or on-site or whatever you call it. So this icebreaker would be something related to sharing. Now, when you talk about sharing, two things coming on my mind is one is emotions and second is experience sharing. So what we'll do is do not worry, please see the instructions and then we'll go into the action mode. So this icebreaker is all about sharing of emotions and sharing of experiences. And you got almost 5 to 10, I will not put it as minutes, minutes will be too much. Let's say about 5 to 10 seconds to actually start the process. Now we'll come on to the instructions and then we'll do it. Absolutely not to worry. The instructions are very clear. You would relate your name either with a favorite color or an object. Now, when you talk about your name, like for example, my name is Suhas. So it starts with S. So maybe I could relate it with some favorite color. Need not start with the alphabet S, maybe red, maybe blue, or maybe I could think of something, some sort of an object. It could be either a stationary object like the wall which I'm touching, or maybe the wall, or maybe the door which I'm touching, or maybe it could be maybe a pen which I'm bringing, or maybe a piece of paper, or maybe a water bottle, something it could be associated with an emotion or an experience resonating, that is you as Kavita, you as Jaspreet, you as a person. How does it resonate? You are permitted to be spontaneous and think out of the box. So it's your life, fill your colors into it. I'm just giving an idea. Let's have some focus. Let's connect with the word. Let's connect with the object. Let's fill it up with life and colors. That's what the canvas of facilitation is all about. It could be as remote as maybe a telephone set, maybe an alarm clock, maybe a lamp, maybe a teddy bear, maybe a mobile, maybe a toilet roll, maybe a chair on which you're seated, maybe a candle stand, maybe a pan, maybe a book. It could be absolutely anything which is permitted. So with this idea, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing the screen and we come back. You all can take your time. In the sense, just a couple of minutes. In case you want me to start, I would do that. But let me give you a pause. Let's have at least 2 minutes of thinking and then we can start with this process.
So done.
You all got the idea, right?
So done.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's nice, Kavita. That's nice, Shipra. Zahir, you're with us. Pooja, you're with us. Yes. Margaret, Prasad, Sagar. So who'd like to go first?
So if you allow, may I?
Please go ahead, Dr. Shipra.
Okay, so thank you for this opportunity. If you ask me, I relate myself to color, which is light blue. And the reason is light blue is the color of the throat chakra, which is Vishuddha. And it talks about speaking your own truth and speaking yourself out. So I relate myself to my voice, to my inner truth and my wisdom. So that is the color I want to relate to. And then with an emotion, as you said, for emotion, if I talk about, I would relate myself to positivity and happiness. So I love to radiate positivity and happiness, and that should be spread around wherever I am. So these are the two things. Thank you.
Wonderful, Dr. Shipra. So let's all put our hands together and let's all give her a big round of applause. Wonderful. So yes, Bhupinder, would you like to come in next?
Just to add with Dr. Shipra, I am also, for me, the color blue is very important.
Okay.
The reason behind it is it represents your calmness and responsibility and trust. That happens professionally also and personally also at present with me. The trust building part of it, the responsibility, whatever the responsibility is given, that has been taken care and timely delivery of those things has been given. That's what I would like to tell.
Wow. Bhupinder, that is a wonderful add-on. Absolutely fantastic, fabulous, Congratulations. So let's all put our hands and give a big round of applause. Please remember, as trainers, as facilitators, teachers, mentors, coaches, it's our duty to appreciate ourselves, give a pat on our shoulders. That's how we can actually motivate and empower people. So appreciate yourself, thank yourself, be happy, and let the ball keep rolling. So that's how it needs to be. Wonderful. So I think we have Famida and Kavita. Famida, would you like to go in next?
Hi, so this is Famida. I have a remote control. How I resonate, one of the features is track change. So, getting too comfortable, I don't like getting comfortable. So I change my track. So that's how I resonate the remote control with me. And and apparently it's also one of my favorite objects at home. So that's how I resonate with it.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful, Famida. Congratulations. Let's all put our hands together and let's all give a big round of applause. Wonderful, wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I think Kavita, you can go in next.
All right, sir. Thank you. My name is Kavita Baghel. The closest object that I could relate to or think of is a tiny droplet of water, pearl-like, on the lotus petal. You know, that subtle, agile, pure, transparent, beautiful, and something that is still detached to wherever it is. So that's about me. Thanks.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful, Kavita. Let's all applaud. Let's all give her a big round of applause. This process needs to continue. आपको लगेगा अरे कंटाला आ रहा है, नहीं करना चाहिए, कितने लोगों को ताली बजाएंगे? तो अगर आप ताली नहीं बजाएंगे तो आपके लिए भी कोई ताली नहीं बजाएगा. You need to be understand about this. Yes, Animesh, I think Animesh is there. I mean, like Animesh, you can go ahead. Wonderful.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So this is Animesh. I would probably relate myself to a color which is not a color, like a void, something which is transparent. And again, an object, if that so be, would be a void again, where I would like to probably be something from which anything can pass through without depositing anything in me, and I'm as light and as open and as neutral as possible.
Wow, that's nice. That's nice, Animesh. So let's all give a big round of applause. Congratulations. Well done. Absolutely fantastic, That's right. Now we have Karthik. Yes, Karthik has raised his hand. So Karthik, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so one thing which always fascinated me as an object or a color is saffron, the Kesaria color.
Okay.
That is precisely because that involves sacrifice, basically, and also always going towards the truth and ultimate reality.
Wow.
So that always fascinates me, and that this also reminds me during the sunrise and sunset. I always see that Kesaria everywhere, and it also gives life many things. You can attribute completeness of an human evolution, probably.
Wonderful, wonderful. Congratulations. Well done, Karthik. So now, with your permission, if you permit me, I would like to say something. Can I?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, give me the privilege of just getting up for a minute. I wanted to pick up something nice, which I bought from Gujarat. You can see basically a lovely patterned teapot. So I feel that I'm like a teapot, and the more of tea I share with all of you all, possibly not just virtually, but actually also it may happen someday. That will bring a lot of vibration, agility, disruption, collaboration, and a lot of deliberation. So I would like to be like a teapot and keep on offering tea and keep on refilling the moment it gets empty. So thank you. Wonderful. So that's basically how it is. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay.
Lovely, sir. Big round of applause.
Okay, wonderful. So what we do is we go back to the screen sharing. Yes. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay. This is just because sometimes what happens the moment you stop it, sometimes the technical glitches could be there, that's what. So believe in it. You as facilitators, you as trainers, you as coaches, you as mentors, you as human beings or facilitators, that's a great ability which all of you all have, that compassion, that passion, that trust, that empathy which you carry with yourself for each and everyone. Please accept it. I'm mandating for you for being good facilitators or trainers all across. The most important ability is to be amazing. All of you all are amazing, and marks. So that makes it all the more better, whether you participated, observed, said something. It is basically you keep on appreciating your audience, you keep on appreciating your learners or participants. That's how the story goes. Now, this is what I was talking about, the session agenda. The session agenda is nothing but it's a sheet, only the format is different. This is reproduced from your book. This is reproduced from your book. You have, it's something which is known as the index or the table of contents or the session agenda. Some trainers would put it as session objectives, session outcomes, things like that. So we are going to do about things like facilitation techniques which are used, common training methods, training need identification, and relating it with goals and learning objectives, new knowledge, new skills, new attributes, planning of the training content, connecting with the audience, connecting with and understanding the learner characteristics, the method of contextualization, and the presentation style. So now I found this something which is beautiful. Recapping. This is not just related to effective facilitation. It would relate to any field or any stream of facilitation. It's basically a recap of the complete session. The first thing, I mean, the cornerstones or the most important things which you're going to create when you're going to do an effective training session or an effective facilitation session is knowing yourself. So you will wonder, why do you want to know yourself? Knowing yourself is very important. Some of us would be extroverts, some of us would be introverts, some of us would be thinkers, some of us would be doers, some of us would be very interactive, some of us would be very selective, some of us would be, we've got different styles and different skills and different strengths. We can polish, we can refine, we can replicate, we can, do certain things which other people have set as trends, definitely, but we will not be able to change ourselves totally. Please accept your own unique style, your own unique skill, your own unique strength. So knowing yourself, a complete retrospection of your abilities, your attitude, your personality, your emotions, your temperament, your mood is what is very important to know yourself. So to be a good facilitator or a trainer, this is the first thing, knowing myself. Till the time I'm passionate about teaching, training, or facilitating someone, I cannot go ahead. So I need to know myself absolutely perfectly to the best possible. So that if there are certain bad things in me related to my behavior, related to my attitude, related to my approach, related to my response, I can correct myself, I can modify myself, I can improvise myself. Second is knowing your content, knowing your material. Please understand, I, like all other teachers, all the trainers, all other facilitators, all other academicians, thanks to COVID, picked up a lot of content curation, do a lot of research, a lot of sources of data, maybe articles, maybe papers, maybe other presentations, maybe the resource material which has been given to you by ISTD. It could be absolutely anything. Proper researching, proper development, proper curating, proper mixing and matching, using the right resources is of great importance. So knowing the material of this session, if I'm going to talk about this session, I do not need to know what I'm going to do in the 9th and the 10th session because there's a lot of time. But yes, I connect with the first one, which is over, and I connect with the next one, which is coming up on next Sunday. So that connect, that content, that research, that application, that data, that graphics, that infographics, that animation, that resource support is very important, which helps me to make this presentation. 3 is know your purpose. You need to have a specific purpose, whether it is training or facilitation. Why train or why facilitate? In fact, I would say all the questions need to be answered. Who, when, what, how, whom, all those questions can be answered, where once you are able to answer, the purpose becomes very clear, that why I need to train or why I need to facilitate. Is it for skill building? Is it for providing of information? Is it for changing of attitude? What is the exact purpose? What is the exact dimension? What is the exact outcome? So this is basically a quadrant pattern: knowing yourself, knowing your material, knowing your purpose. And of course, the fourth one is knowing your audience. The complete demographics is very important. Now, when you talk about demographics, it would be the age, it would be the backgrounds, it would be the geographies, it could be maybe the job roles, it could be the preference for joining this program or this module or this session or whatever it is, or this course. What sort of an affiliation? Now, when you ask about affiliation, what do you mean by the word affiliation? Anyone can say, what is this affiliation all about?
Associations?
Yes, it could be association. It could be maybe when you talk about affiliation, making it easier for you to understand. Jaisa desh vaisa base. Like we say, when in Rome, do what Romans do. When in Chennai, do what Chennai people would do. When in Mumbai, do what Mumbaikars would do. So according to the affiliation could be trade-based, operation-based, job role-based, whatever, or maybe your status-based, or maybe the job role what you're occupying. So that affiliation, maybe you're an architect, maybe you're a doctor, maybe you're an engineer, maybe you're a technocrat, maybe you're an entrepreneur. Even that affiliation helps. That will help you to create the content. That will help you to do the explanations. That will help you to do the deliberations. The knowledge required. Now, when you talk about knowledge, thanks to COVID again, we were able to actually sift through a lot of data and use minimum data, giving good impact, and we could actually follow it up. Now, when you say follow it up, knowledge of this type or of this PPT would be limited. So how do we make it better? So along with this PPT, if you read the resource material or if you read certain recommended books which are there in this, it would make your knowledge better. Maybe doing certain case studies, maybe going through certain scenarios, maybe sharing with your colleagues. Now that you're all a mixed community of trainers and facilitators and wonderful professionals all across the country, it would be nice to enable conversations, meetings, maybe virtual, maybe actual, maybe physical, maybe something, whatever is actually possible to share knowledge. Maybe the domains are different. People would be from the pharma background, the academic background, maybe the manufacturing, maybe the IT sector, maybe the insurance sector, maybe the finance sector. The sharing of knowledge would be a great thing. The perceptions. What is the perception? What is the level of thinking for that audience? You need to have it actually crafted, actually understand, so that the content could be specifically designed. And when you talk about this, it's all related to the purpose of being trained. Now you'll wonder why this purpose. It's actually a context, making it a sort of a repetition, endorsing, making it stronger, fortifying it. It's not that you're going to do all these four in isolation or polarization. All these four need to be done simultaneously. Now, knowing yourself, you may know it actually. Knowing the purpose, you may do it when you're meeting the client or when you're meeting the team or when you're meeting the students or when you're meeting the participants. Knowing that once you are interacting with them, you understand when you interact, when you talk. If you're not able to meet them in person, maybe we could have certain questionnaires or maybe certain surveys or maybe some type of an observation which is shared by the department so that you're able to understand what is the actual focus or the purpose. Based on that, the second quadrant would go into place, designing the material or making the material very relevant, the same content. Like, for example, communication skills. Let me talk about communication skills for that matter. You take up any one area of communication skill, like, for example, spoken English for youth. So when I'm going to craft this spoken English for youth, the content or the material would be very different when I'm doing it for different sets or different audiences. It would be different for if I'm going to do it for someone at the workplace. It would be very different if I'm going to do it in the community. It would be very different if I'm going to do it for the MBA students. It would be very different if I'm going to do it for a mixed group of people with different age groups and which is an open house sort of a session. So curating of material is very important. It will decide upon your inputs, which you gathered when you understood the purpose and your audience. Without that, you'll never be able to design your material. Now, desirable competencies for facilitation. Now, this is actually a set of 6 competencies. Competencies is something where it's something better than your skills. It's related to your behavior. It's related to how competent you would be to be a good facilitator. So first thing is understand and manage learner related problems. I might be one of the best facilitators. You might be one of the best trainers. You might be a principal of a college. You might be a dean of a university, whatsoever. Till the time I actually sink in like a sponge absorbing water and understand what my learners want. What problems are they facing? Whether it is related to maybe a conflict, maybe a decision, maybe a problem, maybe a skill enhancement, maybe an attitude improvement, whatsoever. Till the time I do not understand and I'm not able to manage learner related problems, the purpose of facilitation is defeated. I can be declared as incompetent if I am not able to understand my audience, my customers. Customers does not mean only paid people, even unpaid people. The team with whom I'm going to work, the group with whom I'm working in the workplace, in the office, in the college, in whatever area, I need to understand that properly. Second is a positive relationship with the learners. I need to go in that extra mile to create rapport, to create bonding, that Fevicol ka jod, that relationship which is not personal, but personalized, that warmth, that affinity, that bonding, that alchemy with each person is very important with the learner. Third is, now this will take into account all the learners. Each of the learners may have a different requirement, a different site, a different understanding, a different purpose, a different context. So I need to take care of everyone in that group or in that cluster or in that team or in that specific audience whom I'm going to facilitate for that session. Accelerate for people and professional development. As a facilitator, I should stop thinking of adding medals or coats or blazers, or maybe I can add up to more money, which should be paid by the companies, but I should focus on development of people, development of teams, development of learners, development of people who are part of the audience. And of course, indirectly related to professional development. Please understand facilitation as a game, as a science, as an art is practiced by organizations to have a definite mandate of improvement, to improve production, to improve performance, to work better, to be more competent. It could have a specific purpose. So people and professional development is very broad-based. Relating with the company culture, becoming more organic with the organizational growth or the culture. Effectively communicate. Now, when you talk about effectively communicate, people talk about effective communication. When you talk about effective communication, I'm not talking about just the pitch or the tone or the depth of what I'm speaking or the grammar. It's not necessary. Anyone would like to say something when you talk about effective communication?
Sir, it is the message that needs to be delivered the way
the message. Very good.
The
The message,
interpretation must
the
be the same.
medium, the interaction, the understanding, the stimuli which is being offered, the response, the listening, and of course, what you do after that process of communication. Exactly. Have a professional appearance and poise. Very important. There is nothing like saying, I'm in a house or I'm in a garden or I'm in the office. Professional appearance and poise makes you feel better. I might have been totally relaxed at home, having lunch with my family, but the moment it was nearing 2 o'clock, going into that professional attire and going into that poise It could be anything. Now you'll wonder, wearing a blazer is important, or wearing a sari is important, or wearing so-and-so, a Nehru jacket is important. It needs to be in sync with what is the requirement for that organization. It could be a t-shirt. It could be a polo shirt. It could be casuals. It could be semi-casual, semi-formals. It depends on what is the exact requirement. How is that event poised to be? And continuous amount of motivation of learners to achieve the desired performance. Now, this is a great area for us because you are continuously moving. You're continuously moving in different clusters, in different circles, or in different groups. So there will be people talking, there will be people who are silent, there will be people who are participating, there will be people who are not in sync with what is happening. So you'll need to continuously engage with each learner so that everyone contributes, everyone gives inputs, everyone gives a viewpoint so that the desired performance for that cluster, for that group, for that team, for that subgroup is available, so that your debrief or your moderation or your purpose of facilitation is complete. Now let's go on to some certain common techniques. I've just put in a couple of pointers here and there. It may not be very extensive like your resource material or your book which you got. You can always add. I've just put in the important parts. When you talk about a lecture could relate to a monologue, a person who's talking, a person who's discussing, a person who's reading, a person who's explaining would be a lecturer. Now, this would be normally for many people. So here the learners or the participants would listen, learn, support their learning either by reading simultaneously or reading it later and taking down important notes. Notes helps you to build up your knowledge. Notes helps you to make you feel better on that content or on that area or on that topic. Modified lecture, something slightly better than a lecture, is with a modification. This has got certain inbuilt class activities where the lecturer would involve the learners or the students to do some amount of reading, some amount of writing, some amount of talking, some amount of listening, some amount of reflection, and some amount of thinking. This is a complete process which you all also must have seen and which you all are also doing during different sessions. Many a time facilitation techniques and training techniques or training methods would overlap. So certain times it may not be very practical to use certain things which are listed here, but you may have to do different combinations or different things at different times. So we'll need to do all these things. Why do you need to make someone read or write or talk, maybe give an assignment, ask a question, listen to an answer, listen to a response, maybe ask for a reflection, do some thinking? So when you have all those things, that actually engages the audience, engages the students to add value, to be part of the session. Now, forums, very interesting concept. I picked up this concept during the COVID, where we had access to a lot of LMS and MOOCs and things like that. The only way to spread across with either people who are learning the same course or either teaching them something or giving them some homework would be putting in certain text messages in the forum. So when you have a forum, people would interact irrespective of topography, irrespective of geography. This is an excellent way of discussing, exchanging of ideas, making a comment. Maybe you have a question, it will be answered, maybe triggering a deeper thinking of the problem in hand. And of course, you have a debrief at the end. So forums are picking up a lot of speed, a lot of momentum, especially from COVID. I've noticed that we have a lot of those online forum and discussion forums and things like that happening. It would be very nice. In fact, you all also would be engaged with different groups, maybe related to your own domain, maybe related to your own trade, maybe related to your own organization. So there you are able to discuss certain things. You're able to get up certain points. You're get different ideas. Like, for example, your batch 87, for that matter, you've got so many students, so many wonderful students coming from all across. So you have a forum. When you have a forum, you can discuss, you can connect, you can share, you can ask, you can brief, you can debrief, you can explain, you can comment. So a lot of things would be possible. So forums gives a very healthy way of interaction. Debates, another important day where facilitation uses a point of debate. It's for actually improving speaking skill. Now, when you talk about debate, giving an opportunity for people, individual participants, learners to speak, to give their viewpoint, to discuss, to share, to make a viewpoint, to provide their experience, and to have a convincing argument. There could be people for, there could be people against, there could be people who would support it and who would defy it and things like that. So always there will be a broad understanding in this facilitation exercise, that learners would understand that just like arguments, every conversation in a debate has to be viewed from two different perspectives or from two sides of the coin. Then we have the group discussion. Now, this is another healthy way of discussing. Now, when you talk about a group discussion, it actually helps gauge whether the candidate or the learner has got certain personality traits. When the discussion is there, automatically these things are going to happen. Your individual personality traits are going to be enhanced or developed. Interpersonal communication skills. You'll be able to discuss, understand, ask, develop your confidence, get into the trend of creating the team bonding or cohesion or working together. You'll be able to get an opportunity to supervise or lead or be part of it informally and formally. Your social behavior, how to act, how to react, what sort of attitude, what sort of acceptance, what sort of tolerance, all those things you'll be learning. And of course, a problem solving skill. This is the best area where a facilitator could give a problem, and in a group discussion, you could get a lot of solutions, a lot of alternatives, a lot of ways of addressing that problem. Then we have the buzz groups. Buzz groups is something smaller, it's something smaller where you create a buzz or where you create a noise, and it could be maybe 3 to 4 people or maybe 3 to 6 people, learners who are actually divided. It could be a focus group. It could be a specific group. It could be an identified group who is given a topic to discuss, maybe 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you come up with a solution. It helps the learners in that buzz group to collaborate with each other. Those 3 people, those 4 persons, those 6 people in that group would be able to collaborate, discuss, share ideas. They would be able to solve the problems as a group, individual viewpoint, and then coming together and putting things in sync to offer maybe a solution, maybe an answer, maybe how to solve the problem. This would be based upon responses to the ideas from each other significantly, because in a buzz group, you will tend to identify with each other as friends or as group members and not with any hierarchy. We will not have any senior, superior, subordinate. It will be more like a friendly interaction, an informal interaction. Even though the purpose would be formal, discussions could be slightly broad-based, open-minded, where you could actually act or react, give your ideas, give your suggestions, and others could actually add, accept, modify, or tell why it is not so. So all those things would be possible in a buzz group. Brainstorming. This is one of the best things as far as it is not being recorded. I mean, brainstorming is one of the best options where you could have different teams or different people working in different setups who can generate ideas. Give them a specific time limit, give them a topic to chew upon, and a specific arrangement. Maybe a room, maybe nice room, maybe certain ways where they feel comfortable and they discuss during that time. Once it is recorded, then the purpose of a brainstorming would go on a different level. If it is informal, even though the environment is controlled, when you talk about controlled, the number of people, the type of people, the timing, the focus area, the topic to be discussed, and free thinking. Let them give their ideas. Now, when this is done, the members of the team in the brainstorming would approach that specific problem, which has not got an answer till now for that matter. How might we address this situation? How can we answer this? How can we come to the best possible solution? You get a lot of ideas and you're able to draw a lot of linkages. When you talk about linkages, to find out potential solutions to address the problem.
Excuse me, sir.
Sure.
Sir, can you please put more light or give example for free thinking environment?
You're talking about brainstorming.
Free thinking environment, the second part, you have divided into two parts, na? In control and free thinking.
1 second. Huh? Free thinking in the sense, what happens is, it is, even though the environment is controlled, as a facilitator, you should give them liberties to discuss, contradict, argue, debate, come up with divergent points. Let it be free thinking. Let us not pressurize them. Brainstorming is always fertile. It's always holistic when you get correct opinions or free opinions. Free opinions in the sense, coming out of their minds. You do not doctor or you do not create conditions. That's why I specified, let us not have it recorded. So we do not want it recorded. So then you'll wonder, Jaspreet, or people on this forum will wonder, to malum kaise padega? To malum kaise padega? So what we could do is, maybe the brainstorming session could have a result of maybe some sort of an input, maybe on a flip chart, maybe on a whiteboard. Now it doesn't say what Suhas has said, or what Amarnath has said, or what Sukrit has said, or what Nilanjan has said, or what Manvi has said. It would have broad accepted things which many of us have discussed during the 10 minutes or 15 minutes without giving any indication. Suhas has been very negative during that session, but in no way will I be victimized because I said something negative. Maybe something positive would have been picked up even from that. So something like that. Does this answer your question, Jaspreet?
Yes, sir, I understand it, but if you can, give one example where you have used it or where we can use it, so I can relate it more and use it in my future trainings.
It could be on anything. It could be maybe taking a decision either on using of some sort of upgraded technology, or maybe some sort of a problem with a junior who's maybe, it could be something like that, who's not able to come up to the mark, or maybe some sort of a performance issue, or some sort of a competence issue, or some sort of a leadership challenge in the second level. It could be anything, because please understand, in the facilitation context, there will be one specific agenda, one specific question which needs to be addressed. So on that one question, all of us are going to team. It's not going to be a general topic. It's going to be very specific. Like, for example, let's talk, I'm just giving a spontaneous example which comes to my mind. We did 300 units last time. The same team has done only 200 units this time. There's been nothing adverse. The salaries have remained the same. Supervisors have been the same. Everything has been same. Why the reduction of 100 units? So maybe we could put stakeholders from the manufacturing, maybe from the production control, maybe from the supervision, maybe from accounts, maybe from the production, maybe from the purchase. Different people you could put together so that we are able to find out. We are not here to identify and scapegoat people on why 100 units are less. We are interested in finding out how that 200 could come back to 300. So this brainstorming would give a lot of fertile thoughts on what could have gone wrong without giving the blame game. We'll make it very interesting for ideas to go beyond.
Thank you so much, sir. But
welcome. Absolutely
this
welcome.
brings me to a next question. Then, how it is different with in control environment, in control discussion of brainstorming?
In control in the sense, now when you talk about in control, it's basically you're putting the place which is a controlled environment. In the sense, you're working at a workplace, and we tell you that you're going to do it in the auditorium. So what happens is, you are under the assumption that you're at work and you're doing it in an area which is part of the office.
Okay, sir, can
a time limit.
The free environment, can I relate to the World Cafe method?
could be. Any of the systems could be used. Any of the systems could be used. Any of the systems or any of the techniques could be combined.
Thank you,
We'll be
sir.
coming to the World Cafe. We'll be coming to the World Cafe also.
No, sir. Thank you. Yeah.
So, sure.
We also have a question there.
Yes, Kavita, go ahead.
So when we are talking about having a regulated environment, does it also require a moderator in place just to ensure that each person contributes and not remain silent or passive?
Now, it's something like your, what do you call it? I'm not able to get that term. It's a medical sort of a term where we do those, I got that term, MRI. MRI scan करने के time जो उसका technician है, that technician is normally seated and he is able to observe from outside.
Okay.
He or she, if there is anything contra, he will enter and put it all right, you know. So
Maybe having a camera or something.
So maybe the supervisor can observe and understand without actually participating in the conversation, nor getting the option of listening to what they're doing during the conversation.
So
He's
in
not
fact, sir,
supposed to be part
if
of
I
the
can,
conversation in any way, he or she.
so if I can add a Karthik here,
Sure,
if I
sure.
can add to it.
ahead,
Recently we had one new concept or marketing concept which we are trying to bring in, and I was part of this brainstorming session.
Yes, Karthik.
People from brand management, marketing, as well as market research, as well as the field forces like us were part of it. And our national sales manager was just making a note of it. He was just in mute and he was just making a note of it. And we were trying to spell out all the ideas without any restriction or being directed towards this particular thing. So we're just going on giving ideas. That's it.
Very nice, very nice. Now, what Karthik has said, see, there are two elements which have come up in our discussion. That's great. I'm also learning. Now, one type of brainstorming is where ideally the facilitator, if it's a controversial issue, should not be part of the conversation. But as far as Karthik is concerned, maybe it was on brand building or some sort of a marketing exercise where the national sales manager definitely was part of that, and he must have added a lot of value once the session was over or once the comments are being taken. Wonderful. So it could be any way, it depends on what type of arrangements it's required. So you'll have to decide what extent of control is actually required and what the organization actually is seeking. In fact, giving you a very simple example, not a simple example, a submission, in fact, every facilitator in an organization is a person on whom the company guns. So, I mean, they don't want to say it directly. So the facilitator is having all the brunt of it, So I'm going to do all that nice talking. I'm going to get the inputs. I'm going to take all the bad words also, and then still manage and show that I'm going to add on value. So something like that. So many a times it does happen. So with that, we'll go back to the slide sharing. Thank you. So films and videos and tapes. You are able to see the screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is just a question because what happens is I'm not able to understand here. Sometimes there could be a glitch. So films could be, videos and tapes. It could be magnetic video tapes or maybe certain video clips and certain films. It allows you for efficient processing and memory recall. Now I'll tell you something which I have done. So I will tell you that once I finish with this slide. The visual and the auditory nature. Sometimes you could have just a picture and you could pause the audio, or sometimes you have the complete video running. It will have the voice and it will have the the visibility and the audition also happening to get a better feel of that. So it will help you to process. It will help the learner to process information in a view or in a manner that is very natural, because they are able to understand, absorb, gather, and relate it to the topic which is part of the facilitation. It would help in accelerating learning. Maybe certain cues, certain hints, certain suggestions would be there. Third is it would have an element of fun added. So fun also could be there where people would enjoy the movie. Some amount of creativity and a way to solve the problems. Now, what I have done is, when I've been using films and videos is, I use both the formats. The first format is where I'll give an example. There is an organization which is Bangalore based by the name of Titan. They're into watches. They said, Suhas, nothing doing. You're going to use only videos which have been created, curated by our lab. It could be vendor based or whatever it was. So all those videos were customized and done with special timing, special mentions, special slides, special, everything was special about that, everything relating to the Titan sale, the sales and service showrooms. So I had no choice but to use. I was told I cannot modify, I cannot add, I cannot delete. I will follow that and I will support it or explain it. Now that was one way of facilitation. In the other case, I was told by the organizations, you freak out on anything. You freak out on anything. Now, again, when you freak out on anything, I am not able to use Titan stuff, even though it is very good. They must have spent lakhs of rupees for developing the video content, which is proprietary. So I can use anything which is available on Vimeo or maybe on YouTube. It could be maybe absolutely not related to the domain whom I'm facilitating all about. It may be an automobile company and I could show them a motivational video which is happening either in a sports field or maybe in the insurance sector or maybe in the manufacturing or something as remote as that. You get tons and tons of videos. You'll need to decide how to explain, when to pause, when to recall, when to take points or when to connect. So it all depends on how. And I feel using the broad platform, either open source or restricted source, is the best because you got a lot of choice. You're able to relate. It is not industry specific. It is more on to your attitude or maybe to your behavior or maybe to the requirement where the facilitation is all about. Facilitation overall is basically making you a better person. So when they make you a better human being, it is irrespective whether you use the content only from that organization or you could supplement or complement or do something. So that's what I found it very useful. So lots and lots of things are available. Even I'll be showing you one video once we are finished off with some part of this slides. Tutorials. Now tutorials are something which is picked up a lot of a lot of importance, especially with the the civil services or maybe the medical entrance exams and things like that. Here also some amount of facilitation is possible where tutorials, you can boast of places like Kota and Rajasthan where specific assignments could be given, a lot of modulation, a lot of thought, a lot of engagement, a lot of pressure also is used, which should not be done, but it is being done to create that sort of a discussion, to create that sort of an environment where the learners would ask questions, listen actively, work collaboratively so that all of them are able to achieve excellent scores, or in fact some of them may go overboard, because you need to have very good scores. So tutorials have been found to be a very restricted area of doing a very focused facilitated means of teaching, maybe a specific topic or an area. It could be numerical reasoning, it could be logical approach, it could be maybe English, it could be maybe general knowledge, it could be specific functional domain expertise for various sort of examinations. So here also, when you talk about a tutorial, the tutorial approach could be used to a certain extent at times in an organization. Normally, academic institutions, colleges, higher educational institutions could follow this pattern if they want a different level of engagement. A self-discovery, this is something which I find fantastic. The law of attraction, you talk about meditation, you talk about power yoga, you talk about so many things, it's involving a lot of exploration, a lot of exercises, a lot of worksheets, a lot of thinking about, a lot of questions being asked. It helps the learners or participants, because why? Self-discovery is part of every sequence of your facilitation whatsoever, because the tagline is very simple, important. I am going to be important only if I can make a difference in developing my people, my team, my group, my participants, my mentees, my pro-teach, my learners, my participants, or whatsoever. This is self-discovery concept is something which is very unique. Where people use various blends. Now we could use spiritual gurus, we could use business gurus, we could use corporate czars and czarinas, whatever it could be, maybe, anyone from that matter where the self-discovery process could be used, a very useful process for visualizing your ideal self, exploring your passion, trying out new things and evaluating your skills. You have a specific pace, regulating your emotions, regulating your thoughts, using these activities, using these exercises for assessing life goals, personalities, relationships at home, at the workplace, in the society, in the community, in the open space for that matter. That's actually where the fund of self-discovery is all about. Very important. We'll also be doing this self-discovery. Please do not worry. As and when we go on, we'll be doing an NLP exercise and we'll be doing a self-discovery exercise, which is hands-on. Some amount of participation will be required. Of course, we'll have a difficulty on this virtual format, but we'll definitely add value and see what best is possible. Role play. See, now, like I told you, there will be certain repetitions. Role play is nothing but helping explore realistic situations for improvement, for change, for making it better, so that you are able to develop an experience, try out different strategies in a supported environment. Now, why supported environment? The facilitator here helps you, guides you, corrects you, models you, teaches you new strategies, aligns you, and handholds you so that you're able to fit into that role in a desirable manner or in a specific manner. Demonstrations. I find this something very unique and this is highly specialized. Now, when you talk about demonstrations, I love this, where demonstration is actually doing something, giving instructions, doing it yourself, and then telling others to do it. So giving you a simple example, of course, we'll maybe next time I can capture a live animated stuff for you. Something as simple as cooking, or maybe table napkin folding, or maybe using something, where you can actually demonstrate, give a set of instructions, or have a specific procedure list, or have a specific method. And then you put in pointers, you handhold, you help, and other people actually do it with you. You do it first, you explain, then you continue your instructions, and then they do it with you, or they do it after you. So it gives a deeper understanding of the topic. It helps to reflect on what has been done by the instructor, by the facilitator, by the trainer, by the demonstrator. It creates a lot of interest among the learners, learning to do something new, something interesting which you never knew, or it's something additional which you're learning. It gives you the spirit of discovery, maybe a new change, a new fold. Now, when you talk about a fold, when I talk about fold, I was relating it to a napkin fold. Maybe you can have a learner who would say, sir, madam, I've done this, but I would like to show you something else, some other fold, where you can, the end result is something similar. So something like that. So it could be a spirit of discovery, a spirit of learning, a spirit of relearning. Exhibits. I find this amazing. I use a lot of exhibits. When you talk about exhibits, using pictures, using props, it could be actual, it could be thermocol, it could be maybe laminated sheets, it could be objects, it could be anything which I can exhibit in front of you. Like, for example, I'm exhibiting this bell. So when I use this bell, you're able to understand, you're able to think critically related to that. Maybe it could help solve a challenging problem. Maybe it could add a dimension of time. Maybe it could help you relate with how to respond, when to respond, or when to stop, how much to communicate, what sort of team engagement is required, how much is enough, rather than say, stop, I want to have other responses. If I say in the beginning, I want to ring this bell and it's clear, the moment I ring this bell, you will stop and the next person will start. So facilitation would be enabling all people to contribute. So we want to have self-sufficiency by making everyone participate, goal setting and things like that.
Excuse me, sir.
Sure.
Sir, I get the last slide. Can you please elaborate on that?
Sure.
So even I didn't get the exhibit part. Can I get some example? Probably not come across any such so far. So
Of exhibit.
exhibits, yes.
Exhibits is anything. Exhibit could be anything, it could be something like this teapot. If I can show you a teapot and tell you to write something about it. Like, for example, in the field of psychology, let me expand. You can try it yourself, or I'll give you some examples so that will be very interesting. In psychology, there is a concept which is known as thematic appreciation test. Thematic appreciation test. So what I do is, I show you this object. It could be a picture or it could be whatever. And then I remove it. Now it's not in focus. You can't see it anymore. So maybe it's there for a minute or maybe it's there for 2 minutes or whatever it is. It could be a video which you could pause. It could be a picture which you can show and stop. It could be audio tape which you could run and stop and tell people to write about it, what they felt about it, maybe in pointers, maybe in paragraphs, maybe in reflection. That would relate to the theme, that would relate to the concept, that would relate to something which is useful for that topic to be facilitated upon. Is it fine, Namrata? Okay.
Something like
So
show
it's more
and
like an exercise, right?
Yes. So it could have a theme, it could be an object, it could be a drawing, it could be embroidery, it could be absolutely anything.
so like we used to do in childhood, like show and tell types.
Yes, this is, I mean, this thematic appreciation test is followed right from school days. So now, yes,
Thank you, sir.
we use different things so that we can increase the momentum. You know, that's basically the whole idea.
So we also use this ink blot projection techniques, right?
Yes, we can. So now we come on to the most interesting part of the area, training need identification. This is one thing which people hate. This is one which people hate. People just call up and say, Jaspreet, you got to do this session. Kavita, you got to do this session. Namrata, you got to do this session. Dr. Prem, you got to do this session. Suhas, you got to do this session. Then they say, what? On what? Then they say, okay, conflict resolution. They say interpersonal skills. They talk about communication skills. They may talk about different things. But when you ask them, can I have a training need identification done? Or have you already done it? No. Don't talk about all those things. You do it on the 13th of March. We want you to come and deliver. We want you to come and facilitate. We want you to come and train. I have found this major problem in many organizations, small and big. But I will tell you, friends, training need identification is the best approach. If you're getting a vendor or if you're having your organization give you the permission of identifying and analyze the training need, your half the job of training or facilitating a specific audience will be met. Why? Because the process says you need to identify a training need. It is nothing but establishing areas where you are trying to observe. Maybe you've done a survey. Maybe you've got certain video graphs. Maybe you've got certain people in the system who have given you inputs about certain employees. You are able to identify the gaps when you are able to identify why the training is required. Only in that case can you bring up your session or your module or anything what you're going to do to teach, train or facilitate to that level so that those gaps can be plugged and the performance can be enhanced. So it could be knowledge, it could be abilities, it could be related to performance. So it could be in terms of organizational demands and it could be in terms of individual employees. So either way, or it could relate to both because individuals are part of the organization. So now let's see how this works. Training need identification could be done at different levels. The first is organization, our company. Find out where the training is required. Normally, you will see that people who are customer facing, people who are in sales, people who are in marketing, people who are handling calls, people who are connected with the other stakeholders, that's where the training is needed because that's what is affecting the complete structure of the organization. Maybe the profits, maybe the volume of business, maybe the turnover. So that's basically where a lot of training is happening. A lot of training is happening at the sales level, marketing level, customer connect levels, maybe the complaint handling teams, indirectly or directly, that would be the main area or the department. Training need identification at the operational level. This is slightly narrowing it or making it closer, relating to the knowledge, skills, abilities or attitudes to complete that task efficiently in a job role or in a functional area or in a section or maybe in certain small areas also. It could be very niche. It could be the audit department. It could be the legal department. It could be maybe the back-end people. It could be maybe the technical team. It could be specific because you're able to understand. Why do you understand at the operational level? Because you have certain policies. You have certain standard operating procedures. Based on that, you are able to gather data. You are able to understand that there is something wrong. So you have an intervention which is required, a training intervention or a facilitation intervention, so that the task can be done appropriately. Third is at the individual level. Now we are going to focus this more closer, more nearer to the employee, specific job roles, specific people, Suhas, Jaspreet, Dr. Prem, Sukrit, identify people, Namrata. So that's basically why the training is required, for what it is required. This would be based on results, performance, observations. It could be maybe software enabled, it could be actual observations, it could be videographs, it could be maybe performance appraisals, it could be maybe results, it could be anything which could give us an idea based on this. So what steps are needed to be taken by the facilitator for doing a training need analysis? First is identification, then you need to analyze. Step 1 is identifying the competencies related to a role for desired performance. Competency is nothing but how the person could be better, what sort of behavior is required for the person to be better in putting his or her skills to get optimum or desired level of performance. As a facilitator, you or I am going to confirm expected performance requirement, a standard performance requirement, maybe a standard specification for a performance with a role, with aligning with role specific responsibilities. Now it is very easy for you all, and for all of us, in fact, for that matter, you get very wonderful job description, very specific, very related to the task and the activities. Sometimes you are able to align it with the industry set benchmarks. That's how we will go on to the next level. So as a facilitator, we can have performance criteria. Now here, normally in this case, if you would call an external facilitator or someone who's a seasoned facilitator, not within the setup, outside the organization for the intervention, it is highly recommended. Step 2 is identifying the competencies held by the individual for the job roles for the current performance. You are able to identify the job role with what the person is actually doing. As a facilitator, you are connecting with the individual learner, assessing and asking the immediate reporting manager or the supervisor to analyze. This is just one area which has been given in your resource material. It could be different areas. Maybe a customer complaint, maybe why the conversion didn't take place, maybe why the call was not placed in a proper manner, why any problem could have been stopped at that root level. All those things could be found out and analyzed, and certain actions could be done as a facilitator for that specific individual learner or participant. Step 3, comparing the competencies in a skill matrix. You can compare the skill matrix. Matrix could normally be in the form of different skills, identifying with different number of people, giving a score. I will be showing you an example, so not to worry. So you're able to identify it either with qualifications, or compare it with people, or compare it with the type of competencies required, or maybe with the skills required. Find out the gap. What is a gap? Gap means what you're running short of. A desired level of performance is so and so. Actual performance or current performance is so and so. So that minus level is nothing but the gap. Step 4, analyze that gap and decide the best way to bridge the gap. So now this could be done in 2 formats, either with training or with non-training. When you talk about training, outlining the requirement with details in a specific format for developing. You have a structure about the module, about the outcomes, about the methodology, what is required and what could be attained. Non-training is if there could be internal issues. I mean, there could be some improvisation in changing the manner on addressing the issues, making it better, so that performing of tasks is much easier. Now, this is a beautiful thing which I picked up. The skill over here is communication skills. The skill over here is communication skills. The competence is measured. See the different buckets or see the different parts. Effective communication, verbal ability, active listening, efficient presentation, negotiation. So a skill could have multiple competencies relating to one area. It could have tens and hundreds of competencies related to a job role or related to a specific requirement of a function, or maybe a task, or maybe relate to a very special job description of any person for that matter. Now, this is one thing which I found very interesting, just for you to understand how to differentiate in between a skill and a competency. Skill is something which is specific, learned in college, learned in maybe some level of with training and things like that. So it could be maybe coding, handling of accounts, writing of tenders, whereas competencies would be how to have that knowledge and behave so that you are able to be very successful. So sometimes you will be able to blend and you'll be able to use it in a proper manner. Every person will have certain technical skills, certain functional skills, certain hard skills, and competencies to be a better employee, to solve problems, to strategically plan, to negotiate. It could be many, many things relating to skills and competencies for every specific job role. Now, this is another thing which I captured. It's something beautiful. See over here how they are mapped. You got the x-axis and you got the y-axis. You got the personnel, where you have the team member A. It could be names. It could be Suhas, Anil, Namrata, Sukrit, Dr. Prem, Dr. Shipra. People, specific names, all working together. And you have the skills. Skill 1, the name of the skill. Skill 2, skill 3, skill 4, skill 5, skill 6, skill 7, and the maximum range and the minimum range. It's something like you're passing. 28 के ऊपर नहीं जा सकता है. There is a limitation. And 7 से कम आए तो you need to have some improvement. So here at the bottom of the x-axis, you got 4 is high level of competence. It completing the task independently. And 3 is some competence needs some amount of occasional support. 2 is low competency level, ongoing, continuous support. 1 is no competence, needs training and direction. So this will give you I'll be sharing this, please do not worry. It will make life much simpler when you're able to see this. I love sharing like this so that you're able to understand what's actually happening. So now what we do is, before we go on to the section 2, we will keep the section 2 for the next time. And I will show you a video. Let me just stop sharing and go on to the video. You all are able to see the screen?
Not yet, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir, not appearing.
Give me 1 second. You all can see the video now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But not
let me
audible.
just
Facilitation
let me
is
just
about making it easier for groups of people
Typical
to
good.
understand each other's point of view. So sit back for a few moments and put aside responding to those urgent emails as we share some of the good stuff with you and highlight the poor practices you ought to be on the lookout for. And may your business meetings be forever improved. The best facilitators carefully assess the needs of those in the meeting. They treat participants equally and work hard to stay neutral in all discussions. A good facilitator knows how to use a wide range of process tools, but they'll have to be a story for another day, as there are just too many to review in this short video. Getting back to best practices. A good facilitator creates an open and trusting atmosphere and helps participants understand why they're there. They listen intently in order to fully understand what's being said, and when speaking themselves, use simple, direct language. Good facilitators work to make participants the center of attention and take notes that accurately reflect what participants mean. Contrast this with some traits of bad facilitators. These are the things to watch out for and avoid in your own business meetings whenever possible. Poor facilitators want to be the center of attention. They don't really bother checking in with the participants and seeing whether they have any concerns. They often fail to listen and end up losing track of key ideas. They also tend to be overly passive on process and let things amble on. Ever been in a meeting like that? Why, you end up asking yourself, just what is going on here? Why are we doing all this? You raise your concern and the facilitator puts you down? Yep, right there is another trait of bad facilitators. They put people down and get defensive, often about some relatively minor process issue. Meetings run by these facilitators often end up being dominated by the team leader or some other strong voice. Poor facilitators take poor notes. Poor notes lead to poor decisions, often based on what wasn't said. In fact, poor facilitators can be so preoccupied with making their poor notes that they fail to check how the meeting is going and seem to be totally oblivious as to when to take a break. The very worst facilitators tend to push ahead with an irrelevant agenda, having no alternative approaches to offer, and criminally let discussions ramble on and on and on and on without proper closure, which is, of course, a complete waste of everybody's time, so don't go there. Good facilitators are willing to champion ideas they don't personally favor and find ways of concluding meetings on an optimistic note. In their concluding remarks, good facilitators make sure their meetings end with clear steps for the next meeting, ensuring that everybody is up to speed and understands what they have to do. So there you have it, a quick resume of the best and worst facilitator practices. Active Presence offers comprehensive facilitation skills training that will help you communicate better in a team environment and finish those complex projects on time within budget. Have a look at the resource library on our website. Download the free documents on this subject today.
So how was it? You liked it? Sorry for the technical glitch. Sometimes it does happen, you know. Any questions you got? Today, how was it? Was it, the speed was fine?
Better than last time, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks. Okay. You all got any questions? We got 1 or 2 minutes to go.
So if you can quickly distinguish between any group discussion and the buzz thing that you were talking about, group buzz.
Group discussions will be group and the buzz you spoke about, right?
Yeah.
Okay, group discussions will be slightly with more number of people. Buzz groups will be more focused in anywhere in between 3 to 4 or 3 to 6. That is the restriction. Again, the restriction for group discussion will be, it can take more time, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Whereas here, normally the ideal, it's the recommended is, if there are 4 people, they say 4 minutes. If there are 6 people, they say 6 minutes. There's no hard and fast rule, but it will not go for a very long time. It has to be nice and crisp.
Okay.
So I think with this, you deserve a nice break because you'll be having your virtual chai and actual chai and then connecting with the next session, isn't it? So wish you all the best. Take care. God bless you. And